Hello, this is saxophonist Antonio Parker, and this is A Conversation in Jazz, where we are promoting jazz, telling the stories. Our guests today are a dynamic duo whose music fuses jazz tradition with their unique original compositions and arrangements. Please welcome bassist Mark Saltman and pianist William Knowles of the Saltman Knowles Group. We ask you to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon so we can let you know when we are posting another video or going live. We also ask you to donate to our Cash App in order to support the channel and help us to produce future videos. Our Cash App is $Jazzology 101. That's $Jazzology 101. Enjoy the video. Hi, I'm saxophonist Antonio Parker, and this is A Conversation in Jazz. Our guests today are two musical comrades who share a love of musical composition, jazz performance, aesthetic values, and the blending of cultures, primarily through artistic expression. They have formed a musical bond that has lasted over 20 years and counting. Their music, while steeped in the jazz tradition, goes far beyond the traditional jazz forms and provides a wonderful blend of eclectic and tantalizing musical sounds and shapes. Please welcome two of my good friends and musical colleagues, bassist Mark Saltman and pianist William Knowles of the Saltman Knowles Music Group. Fellas,
Thank you.
how you doing?
Yeah.
Good.
Welcome to A Conversation in Jazz.
Cool.
And so what we do here is we get to know some things we may not know. You know,
Sure.
I think I met you first.
Mhm.
I met you. I remember you actually coming into Howard University and auditioning, I think, for the jazz ensemble.
Mhm.
And I remember when you got to town
Oh,
and you were playing around all the jam sessions and that sort of thing.
yeah.
But what I really appreciate now is how far you guys have grown and taking your talents and your gifts, man. So we were all trying to get it together, at the same
Sure,
time. So,
sure.
but just kind of watching that, man, it's really amazing. So, welcome to Conversations in Jazz, where we learn the story behind the story.
All right.
All right.
Cool.
My first question I'd like to ask artists is to share who they are and tell us how they something about themselves. So we'll start with you, Mark.
Uh-oh.
Who was Mark Saltman?
That's a question. I'm still discovering who he is every day. I'd say I grew up listening to some music. My dad actually started my love for jazz because he had a record collection, and I used to steal his records when he wasn't looking.
Gotcha.
He used to listen to Horace Silver a bunch, the Jazz Messengers, some of the West Coast guys, and he loved classical music also. So I heard a lot of that growing up, and I think that kind of influenced me. I think I a lot of times I think for me music is like an escape and a self-expression from dealing with a lot of difficult stuff when I was growing up.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what else to say.
Okay. All right. That's good. That's good enough.
All right.
William. Who's William Knowles?
Well, you want the no?
You
You got some edits and no.
PG or the R version?
Right. No, similar. My great grandmother had the piano,
Okay.
and I spent a lot of time with her, and I would always bang on this piano, and I'm sure it drove her nuts. So she gave it to my mother.
Gotcha.
And I just kept playing. It was something that was in the home though. It was physical and it was in the home and you could make a sound right away. And it caught my attention. So I started taking lessons and went back then I lived in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So I went to the Wisconsin Conservatory of Music, and then we moved out to Whitewater, Wisconsin, and just kept studying. And there was always music in the house. My mom would sing, she would sing all the pop stuff. And then my dad had a nice record collection. He had like Mays and Ohio players, and then if you saw my interest in jazz, and there was some Winton stuff, and so it was around.
Okay.
And then it was the thing that I always did.
Yeah.
And it was the thing that I got better and better at. And I know my mother wanted me to have a different, a steady, you get something to fall back on. You hear those sentences.
Yeah.
But it was always there. And there was always, it wasn't just playing, there was always writing.
Okay.
Playing and writing were never separate to me.
Gotcha. Okay.
No matter,
Wow.
as I was a fledgling player, then I was a fledgling writer.
Wow.
It always came out both ways.
So I take it you're both musicians. Well, we're going to unpack some of that evolution and development. But I want to go back and tell the audience where you're from. You mentioned...
Oh, I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Okay. And what was it like growing up in Milwaukee?
Well, I was born in Milwaukee. I did most of my growing up in Whitewater, Wisconsin, because my parents moved out there for jobs.
Okay.
So Whitewater, Wisconsin was not culturally diverse.
Okay.
But I had good teachers and people who cared for me.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, my parents.
Yeah.
So it was a good childhood.
Did you have siblings?
Hey, I have 2 brothers.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And Mark, where you from?
I was born in Bridgeport, Connecticut, but then I lived in Cheshire, Connecticut, and New Haven, Connecticut for a while. I got a stepbrother and a stepsister. I would say for me, I went to a Jewish school for the first few years, of course, and then I went to public school, and that was kind of culture shock for me.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
definitely culture shock, and it was also not a very diverse. Where I started going to public school was not a very diverse town at all.
Okay.
Which I didn't really love very much, but you deal with what you got to deal with, right?
Yeah.
You don't have choices at that point.
Yeah. You mentioned that your dad had jazz records hanging,
Yes.
and you would listen. Was that was the music you were checking out as you were growing up, or was that like this some interesting stuff you was just, let me see what this is about?
Well, he would play it all the time, and so I would hear it. I think it was not until I was a teenager that I started checking it out and like grabbing the records and putting them on, like when he wasn't home. Not that he would have cared, because he would have been fine as long as I didn't scratch. As long as I didn't try to scratch him too much, he wouldn't have minded. But then I started really checking them out, and then I got kind of interested. I remember listening to. I heard Al Jarreau singing Take 5 on the radio. And I heard the original Take 5, and I thought it was okay. Mm-hmm. But hearing Al Jarreau do it gave me like a different perspective. And suddenly I was like, wait, I want to hear more of this.
Wow. Yeah. So did jazz, when you initially heard jazz, did it compel you, or was it just, did it take a minute to kind of digest?
I think some things took a minute. Like the instrumental music took a minute. Hearing the vocal stuff, you could relate much more quickly, I think. Because before that, I was like, like any young kid, you listen to a lot of pop music. Yeah. And until you hear the vocal jazz stuff, that turned me on. And then as you listen to more of that, your ears get used to the sound. Then the instrumental stuff starts to make some sense.
What were you listening to coming up?
Well, I was into pop music primarily. But I was also, I had a good high school band director.
Okay. What's his name?
Don Deal.
Okay.
Yeah, great cat, trombone player.
He's still around?
Still around.
Okay, beautiful.
Played some great bone and played some drums too. But he would always tip our ear at the beginning of class. There would be So What or some great classical jazz cat was playing, and we would listen. And then he would take us to cool places. We had like some Buddy Rich camp thing, and it was always some exposure to the music that was like, wow, okay, I dig it.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, do both of you come from a musical family, or were you like the only one in the family playing music?
My stepbrother plays the drums.
Okay.
And my dad, when he was younger, played like a tiny bit of piano, not very much, but he had a friend that played trumpet, and I was constantly trying to show him like stuff on the piano.
Gotcha.
And they lived up in Massachusetts, and I think they would try to sneak into some jazz clubs sometimes when they were younger, and that was like their thing. Yeah. So I guess that's what he started. He started his interest, but other than that, nobody in my family, I don't think really. My mom sang sometimes, but that was about it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, my dad played drums.
Really?
So not drum set, But he taught me how to do my first drum roll.
Yeah.
And that was cool. He got kicked out of the band because he
Oh, that's
broke
right.
a
You
technique.
played drums too. At,
Yeah, I did.
At Howard, right?
I sure did.
Yeah. You.
Yeah, I played drums
was
through
Thunder
high
Machine?
school. Yeah. Yeah. Thunder 5 Machine.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense now.
Yeah.
So piano was your first musical instrument?
Yes, it was the one I had access to. It was the first thing.
And you taught yourself how to play it, or
Oh, no.
did you study formally?
I took lessons almost right away.
Okay.
You know, once my mom got the piano from my great grandmother, that was it. You know,
Gotcha.
You got to go learn how to play it now.
Yeah, no doubt. What was your first instrument?
So my mom wanted me to play the violin when I was like 4.
Mm-hmm.
So she got me this violin, but it was way too big for a 4-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
And they want you to put the violin under your neck and hold it. And I couldn't do it for the life of me. I would try to strum the violin all day. Like I was just sitting there trying to strum it. And the teacher would be like, no, you have to put it under your neck. But I was this little kid. And it was like, I don't know if it was a full-size violin, but it was a big violin.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't really practice it. So it didn't last long, even though I liked it. Yeah.
So how'd you get to the bass?
So because my stepbrother was playing drums and he would have people come over and jam and do all that stuff, and I was jealous.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I can't play the drums, but what can I play? And I started, okay, I'll try the bass and see what happens.
Now, was it the electric bass or was the...
I started on the electric bass.
Okay.
And it seemed like it was cool. I thought it was really cool. But
so were you self-taught or did
I took some lessons, but I was kind of trying to be self-taught, and of course that didn't work out as well as I was hoping. I needed to take some more lessons.
Gotcha. So did music come easy for you guys?
No. I just want to be clear. Everyone says, "Oh, you're so talented." No, I'm just gritty.
Yeah,
I'll keep doing it.
Yeah,
over
I noticed that about
and over again until I can get it under my hands.
Yeah.
It was not. I'm not a savant. I don't have any special skills. I'm just will sit there and do it over and over again.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I think I'm the same way. I think music is hard, but I'm also stubborn. And if I want to do something, I connect with something, I'm just going to keep working at it and keep trying to figure it out.
Now, when I was coming up, I think I was about 10, and prior to playing the saxophone, which was my first musical instrument, I was into art, like drawing, and I had great potential for that. But as soon as I got that into music, man, it just immediate, like, this is what I want to do here. Did y'all have that kind of experience? Like, did you know you were gonna like that? That's what I wanted to be a musician. On that, or at what point did you know? Okay, I want to do this as a career.
So I remember I tried writing a song. It wasn't very good. It's probably god awful, but I loved the feeling it gave me of creating something.
Yeah,
it was just like I was just like, wow, And even though, like I said, it was terrible, but I felt like it was the greatest.
Yeah.
So after that, I was just kind of addicted.
Yeah. Did you play in the school, like in the band school, orchestras and band?
Yeah, I played in the band at school. I wasn't doing particularly well at it. But I did do it.
Yeah. So William, you mentioned that your mom wanted you to go in another direction, but music had this pull on you, right?
Right. Well, I was good in school. I got good grades. Like I said, I'm not because I was just hard-nosed about it.
Yeah.
And I always thought of school as my job. It's like you gotta learn.
Yeah.
That's the way my parents were. It was always about education. They're both educators, so I always took school seriously. And I had, like I said, really good grades, and she wanted me to be an engineer or something like that. I was like, I'm making it through math now, but as soon as you turn the corner, I'm not gonna make it. But music, like I said, it was always there. It was always interesting for me. I was in every ensemble. I played the piano, but I was also in drum and bugle corps. I was a drum major for my high school.
Wow.
I was always in a musical situation where you had to look at music or figure things out musically. I kind of got that from that great band director. And so it was all this musical activity. I wasn't even home in the summers. I was out with the corps.
Okay.
You know, so it was like I had all this musical experience. So when it came time to go to school, I was like, I want to play.
Yeah.
So, you know, I auditioned at Oberlin and Howard and some other places, and Howard gave the most money. So it was like, HU, and then it was culturally different from where I was. You know, there wasn't a lot of chocolate in Whitewater.
Yeah.
It's changed over the years now. But back when I was a kid there, you know, I was about the only African American in high school.
Yeah.
So it feels so
I know when you got to Howard. I know when you got to Howard, it's like
and then it's different because we are who we are.
Yeah.
And you got to find a way to fit there as well. But it was worth it. It was really,
that's beautiful, man. I came up in Philly, so and I went to Catholic school. Yeah, so and we had white nuns teaching a bunch of black kids, and they have near the problems that we have as teachers, because we, you know, Catholic and but it wasn't until I got to high school that I started being around a more diverse population of people, because I went to performing arts school in Philly, man, and which was beautiful, man, because it was just like all this talent and coming from all these different perspectives. So that was one of the beautiful things. How'd you guys meet?
Oh, we met in grad school.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I was there first.
Yeah.
Because Tillis, remember when Tillis came down with the band?
Yep.
And he offered scholarships to me, Michael Stevens, and Aaron Walker. I thought everybody was going. You know, so I was like, yeah. I mean, to me, it was like free. It's like you're giving away money. Man.
Yeah.
So I went and I got there, and they weren't there.
Wow.
And it was like, wow, this is. But I mean, it's still free school. So so I had been there a year, and then my second year, Mark came.
Okay.
Yeah.
This University of
Massachusetts.
University of
Okay.
Massachusetts.
All right.
At Amherst.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now you come from apparently totally two different backgrounds, right? Yet y'all have developed this kindred spirit and this unique brotherhood. What was it about each other that kind of created that connection between you?
We played right away.
Yeah.
Really?
Like literally right away.
Yeah.
It's like,
Okay.
oh, you played? And we started calling tunes and bam.
Yeah.
Wow.
We played like literally right away.
Yeah. The first time I saw him, he was in the practice room. You were practicing. And I brought my bass in. I was like, let's play some music.
Okay.
So we did that, and we decided we kind of like a lot of the same sorts of tunes. So then it was me, him, and Mark Weissman, right? Was the third one of us, his saxophone player.
Okay.
We used to hang out all the time. You know, like Mark was in your year, I think,
Yes.
right? So he was a year ahead of me. But yeah, we used to hang out, and like on the weekends, we try to get together and practice. We try to find times to just play a little bit, because I always was taught like the way you get better at playing is to play.
Yeah.
So like you have to find other people to play with.
Yeah. I find that like people gravitate towards people. It's like a synergy. Like, and I always wonder, like, y'all personalities just merge in the way, you know, did that have any outside of the music? Was it just easy to kind of connect with?
I was so happy that you were there. I mean, the first year was me and Mark Weissman.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we would play, you know, but there was no one else to play with. So we would play duo, and then Mark got there and was like, and then we had all these other folks that they started good, you know. We had a flute player and a trombone player and a guitar player. It started off good. We played as a community, and then they just sort of faded away, and it was just the three of us. And at the end of the night, we got so bad the janitor would just let us play, you know. He wouldn't kick us out the building.
Jules.
Yeah, he would not kick us out the building.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we'd be there late, but you know, I felt like people were there and they were trying to get their lives going, and I understand but their focus wasn't on playing necessarily. They were trying to play, but they were thinking like, okay, well, in case I can't play, what other jobs can I do?
Gotcha.
Which is reasonable. You know, you got to make a living. I'm not knocking it. But I was always thinking like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to fall back on, but I'm trying to play.
Yeah. So what made you go to University of Massachusetts?
So same thing, scholarship, and we got to teach. I got a teaching fellowship over there, which means free school, free.
So they had money.
Yeah, I mean enough. I mean,
Yeah.
I think they were trying to build up their program the year I came because they had a whole bunch of TAs suddenly came in, and so you had some responsibilities, of course, because money doesn't come for free.
Yeah. Yes.
But so that's why I went there.
Okay. Now, prior to going to grad school, you came to Howard University.
Yes.
What was your? I mean, you said you applied to different schools.
Howard, it just felt, I didn't know my dad. My dad's an educator. He'd been coming to D.C.
Gotcha.
And he was kind of steering me this way towards Howard. And I, of course, loved it.
Yeah.
I never like the townhouses. Milwaukee's, Midwest isn't like that.
Gotcha.
The houses aren't smashed together like that.
Gotcha.
So I was like, man, what are these houses all smashed together? And then you take the bus over to Georgetown and get some ice cream and hang out at the Georgetown Diner and all that old stuff.
Yeah.
And
was it a culture shock for you?
It was, but it was more of an adventure.
Okay.
It was just like, because, once I got here and got the classes under control, then you could sort of explore the city a bit.
What was your major at Howard?
At Howard, I was a jazz studies major.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Yep. And what professors impacted you, like at Howard?
Man, there's so many great ones.
Yeah.
It becomes a perspective thing. You remember so-and-so saying this thing, and it takes you in a certain direction, even later.
Yeah.
But my main cat was Stone, Rupert Stone.
The great late Dr. Rupert Stone. Yeah.
Because it wasn't like he didn't like me. He was just hard on me when we first started. Knowles, you drink, you smoke, beep, you need to start. That was the beginning of the lesson, our improv lesson. So he would cajole me every week.
Yeah.
And I would always have to get up there in front of the class and get beat up. And then finally one day I realized, what happens if I'm not here? So he hit me one day and I was in that frame of mind. You know how youth is.
Yeah.
I walked out the room.
Wow.
And I walked out the band room. I went around to the other corner where you can see the little window into the... I'm like, see what he's going to do. No one else had done the assignment.
Wow.
He was dead in the water.
Wow.
So after that, we had a fine coming to meeting.
Yeah.
He stopped wailing on me so much, and I kept doing the stuff, and it was cool, man.
It's funny. Dr. Stone was funny. See, back in that day, the professors, I mean, they were rough. They could be rough. I mean, so we was in an improv class, and this cat was solo, and he was just like playing any old thing, like. And so while he's soloing, Dr. Stone just sitting there shaking his head. And so then the guy finished soloing. Dr. Stone looked up and said, "You suck."
Yeah.
Man, I had, man, back in them days, I didn't care. I laughed. Dr. Stone. Oh man! And then this particular student, same guy, we went in arranging, jazz arranging, and he had like a speech impediment. Where and so Dr. Stone, he's going down the road asking each of us a question about what was on the board, and so we get to this guy, and he's trying to get it out. About time, Dr. Stone said, "Too late." Oh man! So that's the kind of vibe.
Yeah.
But it was like that, man.
I think they were trying to weed you out.
Oh yeah.
They didn't want you to waste your parents' money if you weren't going to be serious.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of that grief and that hardness was to they wanted to get you out of that music major into something that's better.
Yeah, because
if you could withstand it, then you got all this knowledge. Like after we knocked Headstone and he would talk to me for like almost 3-4 hour blocks of information. No, don't bring your woman to the gig because she'll be at the bar and you'll be over here. And then some, guy's gonna come up on it 15 years later. I'm playing the gig.
And
And sure enough, just like he said it.
Yeah.
Just like it. But the things that they say and the people that were there, like, Stone was my earliest connection. But then it was Irby after that.
Yeah.
Irby was the one that had the connection with Tillis that got me to grad school. And then both between him and Dawkins got the career started in the theater, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I was just like, wow, and then you just don't know. You just hear a lot of information and it goes in. It doesn't mean that you use it immediately, but it turns on later.
Yeah, and I was hard-headed, so I got it later. So, Mark, where'd you go to undergrad?
First, I went to Western Connecticut State University, again, because it was free. It's a theme.
Yeah.
So I went there, and then I went to Hart for a year.
You went to Hart?
I went to Hart where Jackie McLean was.
Oh, wow.
Jackie was cool. I got along. I felt like I got along good with him, and he used to say nice things about me, even though I was playing like crap. He would still say some very complimentary things, and I would be like, "Wow, okay." And then I went to UMass after that.
Oh, wow. So, what was your major in undergrad?
Undergrad, liberal arts music. I tried education for a little bit, and what I noticed was none of the education majors were practicing. And I said to myself, I don't want to be that person. Because I would see them, I don't know, like, you have to do the student-teacher thing. And during that time, none of them would practice. Wow. Even before that, none of them would practice because they'll be, I'm going to be in education. And I was like, okay, I don't want that to be me. So I said, I'm not doing education anymore. I'm just going to do liberal arts music, and that's that.
Gotcha. Now, were you playing electric or upright at this time?
When I went to college, I started playing upright.
Okay, so college is where you made that transition?
I made the transition. I had an upright. It was cheap. It was not very good, but it matched me. So
was it fun?
I like the sound of it so much better. I like the electric bass, but the acoustic bass there's something an authenticity about it that resonates with me. Just like when the body resonates, you feel it. Yeah. With the electric bass, you're feeling and hearing the amp a lot. When you're playing the upright, it's
now we got to talk about Jack. You studied with Jackie. Who was that? Come on, man. Who was there when you were there?
Okay, so Nat Reeves was the bass teacher.
Wow.
And he's awesome, of course. And Jackie, of course, is the one that started the program. He's in charge. Jackie was awesome. So Jackie used to do this class on Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. And he always wanted the rhythm section players to come play because
was Alan Palmer?
Alan Palmer was there at the time, and he was in Jackie's band, but he wasn't going to school necessarily. Gotcha. And Abraham Burton was the saxophone, his saxophone guy, of course, killing. Yeah. Eric McPherson was the drum cat. Like, these are the top students. I wasn't with the top students. These are the top students. Yeah. But anyway, so Jackie would do this 9 a.m. class in the morning, right? And the saxophone students were supposed to all come and learn from him as like a master class every Wednesday. And since he needed rhythm section people, I was like, well, I should probably try to show my face, show up, try to play, and learn some stuff. I would get there at 9. Jackie would be practicing his long tones, soft, medium, and loud. I'd be the only one there. Wow. People would start showing up maybe 9:15, 9:30, 9:45. And I'm like, okay. So that's how I got to know him a little bit. Gotcha. And then I would play for the class. It would just be like, like you're learning to play by playing. You bring in different things. Sometimes Renee came in, his son Renee, brought his tunes. Yeah. He had some tunes I was like struggling to try to play them because they were different than standards. And so you'd have to try to, I did my best is what I was saying.
Was he hard? Was he patient? I mean,
he's a little bit old school, but also cool. Like, he's just very straightforward and honest. Okay. And I appreciated that about him. If he didn't like something, he would say it. Yeah. Not just about me, but even about anybody. Literally, like, I remember he put on a video of, I think it was Cyril and Hannah trying to play, I Remember Clifford. He didn't know the tune. And Jackie was just like, see, he don't know the tune. Because that's how he was. He would be very straightforward about stuff.
Yeah. And I remember Stone used to tell a lot of stories about birds. Did Jackie tell stories?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. All the time. Yeah. Stories about Sonny Stitt, about everything. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's some of the best education when you get those stories, man.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And, I think the whole thing is, it's just like music. You got to be there to listen. Yeah. Right? Because you're getting wisdom from somebody who's lived it, and he's one of the masters.
Yeah.
You got to just sit there and listen to what he has to say.
No doubt about it. So both of you met at the University of Massachusetts in grad school, and y'all both mentioned that the money got you. What was your area of concentration?
I think we were both in the composition program.
Yeah.
Okay.
As grad students.
Jazz composition and arranging is what it was called. Then.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. And what professors had a significant impact on you while you were at the University of Massachusetts?
For me, I came up for Tillis, Fred Tillis.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
You know, and the first semester I had Jeff Holmes, but then I had all the rest of the time I was there, I had Tillis, and he was a great writer. You know, we talked about color. He's the one that got me doing a lot of writing for theater. He prepared me for that.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't even know it then. You know, one of the first things he had me do was just take a Langston Hughes poem and go set it to music.
Wow.
So when I fast forward, I don't know, not quite 8 years later, when the director needed something, he's like, "Hey man, are you a writer?" Yeah. He's like, "Oh, I have lyrics." I'm like, "Great, I work great with lyrics," and I could write off of lyrics because he taught me how to do that. Because I did like 3 or 4 of them, and I arranged them for different things. One was for choir. One was and we actually did it when we went to Europe with him. We did a couple of my tunes. Yeah.
Okay.
I remember that.
So Tillis was big for me. And we both had Yusef.
Yeah.
Yusef Latif, but you spent more time with Yusef.
Yeah, I did. I started taking lessons with him probably my second year there, I think. And then, man, we would just talk for hours. Like, so I think I had a 10 a.m. lesson. And for some reason, whoever was after me would never show up. And, he didn't care about the time. He'd just sit there. And so we'd play for a while. He'd teach me some music stuff. Then we'd just be talking for like a couple hours.
The great Dr. Yusef Latif.
I can't say enough good stuff about him. Not just as a musician, which of course he's a great musician, but just as a person. Just a great person. Like,
what kind of cat was he? I mean, was he gentle? Was he?
So he's like the gentle giant, right?
Okay.
That's how how I could describe him. He was very philosophical, very spiritual. Definitely very individualistic. Like, I don't think he cared what everyone else was doing. I think he was thinking like, what is it I'm trying to do? And I think that he passed a lot of those things. There's stuff like that I always was in my head was kind of how I thought it should be. But when I got with him, it was sort of like, oh, that's really how it is.
Wow.
Okay, that's how it can be.
I was reading that y'all used to have religious kind of conversations.
Oh, yeah. So my dad was a principal, also a rabbi. And of course, Yusef was Abu Yudaya, Muslim. So we used to talk about things from religion. Like, that's what I'm saying, for
that must
hours.
be very interesting, huh?
I thought it was interesting. And, he gave me some books to read, which I did. But just philosophically, I learned like so much stuff. But he would also listen to stuff I said, which is kind of crazy because I'm like a young kid. What do I know? But he would take everything I said like seriously.
Yeah.
And he made you feel important. Like I said, he's great person.
You was talking about musically. He would want you to, when we had rehearsal.
Yeah.
That rehearsal, you were saying something about how he.
So this is how he was, right? This is I think is a good example of how he was as a person. So he had a morning class at Hampshire College, which I used to go to. And when I would play, because he wanted a bass player. So I would always show up, and I was kind of like his official, unofficial TA over there too. And so what it'd be like is me, there'd be maybe sometimes a piano player, a lot of times not. Mostly it was me, him, maybe a couple horn players, and like 20 guitar players sitting around with their amps. And as you can imagine, guitar players and amps, sometimes they can be loud, right? So he'd always bring in tunes that he wrote, and he'd pass them out, and we play through them. So we go around, and every person around the room would get a chance to solo. And he wouldn't put any limitations on it. He'd just let them solo. So one time we're going around, and instead of playing guitar, this guy just decides to stand up, and he starts singing. But it's so loud in there, you can't hear anything is coming out of his mouth. You just see him. You see him doing it. And it looked cool, but we had no idea what it sounded like.
Uh-huh.
So we get done with class, and he comes up to Brother Yusef and he says, I really felt something there. And Yusef just looked at me and said, that was really beautiful. And I know he couldn't really have heard it,
Wow.
but it was the fact that he was trying something different. The fact that he was being an individual, everyone else was doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was his whole philosophy. Like, I'm trying to encourage people to do something different and be themselves.
Wow. Beautiful.
And it was really cool.
Yeah. Beautiful. I got to see him one time. I think he came to Howard, and that's the only time I got to see him before he passed. Yeah. Wow. That's an honor, man. You went from Jackie Mack, and then Yusef.
Yeah. It's like you got
Mr. Tillis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you're around these people, and especially if they're good people,
Mm-hmm.
you want to spend time with them whenever you get an opportunity.
Yeah.
So you try to find the chances to hang out with them.
Yeah. Believe it or not, man, some people don't even appreciate who these people are.
Well, it's like you don't know who they are unless you know who they are. Right?
Yeah.
Like one of my teachers was Stanley Cowell.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
So I was literally got off the 16th Street bus, walking in the park in the Carter Barron. Stanley Cowell is outside playing under a shaded tree on a keyboard.
Wow.
And I'm like, that's a bad,
Yeah.
all the beep, beep, beep.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, he was killing it. And I'm like, hi, my name is, and do you teach? And, he's like, I said, I'm a student at Howard. I'm in the jazz program, and I would love to,
Yeah.
So he gave me his card, and I called him up, and I went out to his house. And it went on for years, like 3, 4, 5 years.
Beautiful.
Just a great cat.
And you just happened to hear him
Outside.
Wow.
And I couldn't believe it. I was
Did
like,
you
man,
know
this
who he
cat-
was at the time?
Of course not. I just knew he was killing.
Wow.
And I wanted to play like him. And then of course I learned. I'm like, whoa, no wonder.
Yeah.
And it was some kind of a grant situation where you just do music all these different places. But
Yeah.
I couldn't believe he was there.
Wow.
And then
Fate. That
yes,
was
and
fate,
then to have him. It always becomes philosophy, doesn't it? I mean, you always end up talking about life.
Yeah.
And then the music and the life, and it all blends together. And I learned so much from him. I can't say, this specific things. A lot of times we would just trade, right?
Yeah.
I play 4 bars, and he'd come from the left, play 4 bars. I come from the, you always take it from the left so you can take over the bottom and then play.
Yeah.
And just play. We would like go for ideas, right? So we would do like 4-bar cycle. We just these 4 bars, and we play those, and then we add 4 more, and then we play 8, and then and he was so expansive, and I'd be like small, and then you start to it starts to open. I learned so much from him that way.
Yeah. Another cat that lived in this town that I think people didn't really. Well, I took advantage of it. Was Andrew White, the great Andrew White.
Yeah.
Man. This cat is he's like, we'll come out to the gig. We be playing with the Thad Wilson Jazz Orchestra, man, and he would come out and check us out, and he would call me, and man, but this guy was like a living legend.
Yeah.
And if you ever went up, and he was funny, and if you ever went over his house, man, when you look at his calligraphy, it was just, it was like perfect. It was like his own style of musical calligraphy. There's only 4 that I've seen that just their musical calligraphy or penmanship, whatever. It was Andrew White, Vince Evans, Dr. Stone, and the late Quincy Jones. When you look at that penman, it's just so exact and like detailed. And but Andrew was just a genius, man. I don't think, and for him to live in this town, and I know he got accolades while he was living, but I just, that's my man.
Yeah,
that was my cat.
killer.
So let's talk about the Saltman Knowles. Okay. There's Rogers and Hart. There's George and Ira Gershwin. There's Duke Ellington and Billy Strayhorn. There's Rogers and Hammerstein. and now there's Saltman and Knowles. Now, many of those composing duos, someone would write the melody or the music,
Sure.
and then someone would
words.
put the word,
Yeah.
the lyrics.
Yeah.
Now, in your situation, y'all have a unique thing in that y'all collective, you write what you write, and you write what you write, and y'all bring that together,
Yeah.
and it creates this synergy of uniqueness, I'm gonna say, because it you know, and I've been blessed to perform with you guys,
Oh
and
yeah.
do some recording with you. How did this come about?
Wow, that's so. Things develop over the years, right?
Yes.
It's not like you could just go out and meet somebody else and be like, oh, let's do this together and it'll work. It just doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So because we hang out and we talk about stuff, and just like we were talking about our teachers and we talk about life, it's the same thing. We talk about all kinds of stuff. You name it, we'll probably talk about it. And so same thing with music. Like I'll say X about music, William will say, oh, this about music. And so even though we don't write the same way, we have our own styles of doing it, we sort of figure it out like this is what works together, and we try to write things that we think will work nicely together. And like, so if he might write this way, I might write this way, and somehow it all blends.
Yeah.
Right. And it started back in school, right? So you have to write like 9 compositions of
That's
various
right.
sizes
That's
and
right.
things. Big band or something with strings, and it was some vocal stuff. There were 9 things that you had to write to get your degree, right? And so you would write all this stuff, and these were in the days before, finale and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So everything, I still have this big portfolio of all my old scores. And we never get to hear the stuff played, right? And I remember as a kid, we were frustrated. It was like, well, I really want to hear somebody play this because I want to hear what it sounds like. You need to hear it in the air, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't correct yourself.
Yeah.
So we got together and we were going to just do a little, recording. There were 3 of us. It was me, Mark, and Weissman.
Yeah.
And we each had 3 tunes or something.
Right. That's what was original.
And we went to a studio. And we were recording, and Weissman couldn't make it.
He couldn't make it. So the saxophone player couldn't make it with his 3 tunes. So we just were like, okay, screw it. So it was me, him, we got a drummer, Joe Vecchio.
Yeah, Joe Vecchio.
Joe Vecchio, who's actually passed away, sadly, a little younger than us. But anyways, we went to the studio, and we were like, look, screw it. We're going to record our tunes, because that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
Right. And then when we were finishing up, the engineer's like, oh, you guys are on your way to an EPK. I'm like, EP what? It's like, oh no, you got a good half of a record here.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then it was like, record.
Yeah.
What a good idea.
Yeah.
Fast forward a year or two, a couple of years later, we were gonna do the record, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
And that came to the theater thing because I was on this. I was doing my first show. It was Bessie's Blues at Studio Theater, and the cat that was Dave Ferguson is his name. He used to play trumpet with Ripple, pop group Ripple, but he was a swinging cat. And he was like going through all the musical theater cats, just slaying them dead because they didn't play the A9 or he didn't play the alterations, And if you came in with the boom chicky stuff, out the door.
Yeah.
So my girlfriend at the time had the little slip of paper where you tear it off with the phone number on it. So I called and I came in to Fergie. He's like, hey, play a sharp 9. I'm like, bang, play the bang. Do this. Okay, you're hired.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. And then in that same audition process, Ralph Peterson came through.
Wow. Was that when he was living in
Here in D.C.
Yeah. Wow.
He had just got here.
Wow.
He walked in the room and I was like, Fergie, do you know who that is? Because I knew who he was.
Yeah.
I was like, beep, hire that beep.
Yeah.
Because he's a killer.
Yeah.
And that's how I met Ralph.
Wow.
And that's how Ralph got on our first record.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Beautiful. Oh man. Well, man, just from and I noticed it's like you're the core cats, but I like how you spread the love around the different musicians, and it's just beautiful, man. And what I dig about playing with you guys, it's like you may be coming from this way, and then you might become, you got some Eastern, it's
Yeah.
European thing happening, snake charming, we go, and man,
Yes,
it's just,
yep.
and it's fun.
Yeah.
You know, it's fun, man, and it's like wow, it's refreshing, you know, to be able to. So when somebody walks into that, it's like, wow, it's like, okay, what's next? I notice about your compositions that they're not just say, okay, this is a song. It's like they have meaning behind it. Each it's like the songs have some kind of meaning behind the composition. Is that intentional?
Yes. A lot of times I like things that like make an impression on you. Like sometimes it can be a piece of art, but the most like it just happened. You know, Halloween wasn't that far long ago. It was Halloween, and me and my wife, you know, you turn on the light, and little kids come to the door, and it was just this little African American girl. She's just running full speed at our front door, with not a care in the world. And it was just innocence, and it's like I want to sketch that. Wow. So I wrote a tune, Trick or Treat. But it was about innocence. It's like, no, I want, we've not played it yet. But it's just that, just not a care, not a worry, just joy and innocence. It's like, God, I want to sketch that. You know, a lot of times I want to sketch things sonically. It can be a person or it can be a feeling or a situation. It's like, God, how do I get that in a sound? Wow. I can't draw worth, you know, but we can make it with sound.
Yeah. What's your process?
So, similar as things that do make an impression on you, it could be anything. Like it could be from watching a TV show that hits you a certain way. It's whatever hits you. A lot of times for me, I'm really interested in a lot of world cultural things. So I spent some time watching Indian stuff, Chinese stuff, Japanese, Korean, Israeli. I love watching, it's trying to understand the culture a lot of the time. And so it's like, you want to get inside the culture a little bit and try to understand what it feels like and try to make music from what that feels like to me. I don't know if it's accurate. I'd have to ask somebody from said culture to see if they feel like it's accurate. I don't know. But it's what I feel like when I'm thinking about it. And it's like, it's music's like a journey of the mind, right? So it's how you have to imagine things.
Wow. Ralph Peterson told me that he said music is a mirror of the mind. Yeah. And so that reminds me of that. You ever run into the proverbial brick wall, like as a composer?
Oh yeah.
Like I'm in a period where I ain't hearing anything.
Yeah.
And it's probably because I'm not doing it enough.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the times what writers make the mistake of believing they're alone. Like there aren't other writers around.
Gotcha.
That's why it's helpful for us, this partnership, because you can't get stagnant because you're always having to do it. And there's always someone putting a new one in front of your face.
Yeah. Wow.
It just turns the thing back on again.
Wow.
It's like, oh, I should try it. You know, let me try it again. Yeah. And I think if there's a writer's workshop or a writer's community where you can share things and try, then it's like, you're naturally going to sit down and write again. It's not, I never think of it as a block because sometimes I have to write to time. Like this needs to be done by here. So you better come up with something because you want that check, don't you?
Yeah.
So that's another, writing to time is different from writing personal writing, but still there's no wall if you want to get paid.
Yeah.
You're going to run right through that wall or dig under it or you're going to get that check.
Yeah.
So I don't think of it as a wall. I just think of it, this is a necessity. I need to have it done by this time.
Gotcha.
I think there's definitely a wall. But sometimes you need to refresh the batteries in different ways. And that could be, sometimes you got to work through it too. I don't always know what the answer is, but I do know that if I want to beat the wall, I got to keep hacking at it.
Yeah.
But sometimes that may be like going and doing something different in your life. It just may be like taking a walk somewhere weird.
Yeah.
It may be reading a book. It may be talking to somebody. But I think you're always looking for what makes you inspired and feels a different way. I do a lot of writing, and a lot of it I don't think is necessarily it's not that it's not good, it's not necessarily well formed. So I might write a bunch of stuff and not use a whole bunch of it. But then eventually it's like anything else. It's like you get a critical mass and something really good comes out. After you have a bunch of, it's like you fail a bunch of times and then you might succeed on the 10th time, but you wouldn't have succeeded except for the 9 times you failed.
So when you're writing and you have a song, right? And then you finally get a band together to play it. Is it, when you hear the band plays, is it what you were hearing in your head? Or does it take on some other kind of thing?
Oh, good question.
It's usually pretty close, to be honest, because of the software programs nowadays.
Okay, yeah.
You kind of know what you're getting. You know, and then I also know who I'm calling.
Gotcha.
You know, I was like, no, I know what I wrote, but do your thing. You know, but within that, because we've been writing in this consistent way for so long, I feel like I get pretty close to what I've imagined. I mean, someone may do something that's a different color or something that's cool. I'm like, no, just keep doing that. But I try to write enough on the paper so you get my meaning, and then you go do your thing. You know.
Yeah. How do y'all decide, like, when y'all doing a set? Okay, we're gonna do this song, because y'all seem very cooperative in the way y'all engage each other in terms of when let's say you got a performance coming up.
Sure.
Do y'all kind of agree on it? Let's do this with that. How does that go?
Yeah, I mean, I say, let's say first we figure out, we got a set coming up. How many tunes do you think we're going to need? Okay, so you take half and I'll take half. And then we see, like, he might bring, let's say we figure 10 tunes for 90 minutes or whatever it is. So he'll take 5 and I'll take 5. Okay, here's my 5. What do you think? Here's my 5. What do you think? Okay, maybe this tune doesn't work, but this tune works. Maybe this works, maybe this doesn't work. Just because then we try to, you're looking at it as a whole, right? Because you can't, it's like you can't present too much of the same vibe.
Yeah.
And the vibe is everything.
Yeah.
So you got to, and like we're watching or taking people on a journey. So the journey can't be all like, oh, we're just going to walk here. You got to see some different things on the way, or you're going to be like checked out. So we got to make sure that we're taking you here, but then we're bringing you someplace else. Gotcha. And then we're bringing you someplace else. And then it's got to constantly be of interest to people.
Is that the same thing when you do recordings?
Yeah. Very much so.
How do y'all know when it's time to do the next recording? First of all, how many recordings you have thus far?
I don't know. How many?
8 completed. The 9th one is in the can.
Okay.
Yeah.
They'll come out next year.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we're guinea pigs over at American University.
Okay.
You know, so we'll go. You know, they need to learn how to record, and they need. Okay. You know, so we'll have some tunes. You know?
Gotcha.
And that's how a lot of times we'll get a head start on the next one, because we'll bring whatever tunes that are current.
Gotcha.
And like, oh, you can hear them nice.
Yeah.
You know, and then when it comes recording time, we'll either use those tracks or re-record them.
Yeah.
So do you is there like, okay, we're gonna record something every year, every other year? How's that?
I don't think we have a specific schedule.
Okay.
It's sometimes it's like what we're trying to do, what circumstances are around us. Do we have enough money to afford to do all the things we want to do? Because, you know, you gotta, even if we're recording for free, we still pay. You got to pay all the cats. You got to pay the mixing. You got to pay the mastering. You got to pay the production. You got to pay everyone. You got to pay the photographer. You know, as you know from a CD, it's not a small expense. If you want to do it well, we could do it cheaper, but we're not going to get what we want to get.
Yeah.
I think our mindset is always, you want to get the best product you can get at that moment.
Yeah. And at 8 recordings, and I think I'm on one. At least I'm on one.
You're on
a couple. Yeah. Y'all have actually established a legacy. I was like, y'all established a legacy. I mean, a standard of excellence, and y'all performed. Where's some of the places y'all perform? I know y'all played.
We did the Charlotte Jazz Fest.
Right. We did the Buffalo. You came up with this.
Pine
Buffalo.
Grill.
Pine Grill.
Yes.
Kennedy
Center. Yeah, we did that.
Millennium Stage.
We did Millennium Stage. Yeah.
Now you know we got to talk about HR 57.
Oh, HR, of course.
Center for the Preservation of Jazz and Blues.
Of course.
Because that's, I think, Is that where y'all was? We all start. Because I remember you used to play the jam session.
Well, Mark started.
Yeah.
He was there before I was.
Okay.
Was I?
Yeah, you started because you would stay.
Oh, you mean when? Yes,
we're playing,
yes,
you
the Wednesday
started.
and Thursday
Yeah.
one. Thursday, I think I
Yeah.
did for a bit. Yeah, right.
Yeah, Mark started, and I wouldn't go in until Junebug.
Yeah.
Jimmy
Yeah, we'll
Jackson.
talk about Junebug too.
Yeah. Once Buggy was in, then it was
Yeah.
Buggy and Mark. It was like, oh, this sounds like I want in now.
And you always had your favorite beverage.
I always
Oh
had
yes.
1.75 liters of some bourbon, but it was community. It was community.
Yeah,
You
it was.
could come up and
yeah.
have some.
I couldn't partake, but
I drank one for you, man.
yeah. Those was. Let's talk about that time. That was a
Sure.
great time and a great period.
It was so exciting. I didn't mean to jump in.
No, go ahead.
It was so exciting,
Uh-huh.
right? Because at that time, I could name everybody that came to town,
Yeah,
and we
yeah.
would see them first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like now I'm way unplugged.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
back then, just whoever they came, whoever would come to town, or if I had a friend comes like, man, come to the session because you can meet everybody.
Yeah.
It was so like right there.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dave.
No, that's absolutely right. I think it fostered a lot of community, people, right? Because anyone could come and they knew every Thursday, every
Yeah.
Wednesday, there is a jam session at HR 57.
And I had the Friday.
And you had
I
the
had
Friday
the
night.
Friday.
That's right.
That's right.
You had
That's
Friday
right.
night.
Yeah.
But you always knew, like he said, anyone in town, you tell them, hey, come to HR on these nights, and
Yeah.
you'll be there.
Now, were you? I think you're a vegetarian now, right?
Now I am, yeah.
Did you partake of the chicken wings? The
I did not, but I used to have the greens,
the greens
and the beans,
and the beans
and the rice. That was my thing. Like I couldn't have the chicken, but I can have.
What
the
about
rest
you?
of that.
Those?
I ate everything. Don't want the blood to be too clean.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, that was a lot, man. Sometimes that was the best part for me. I'm
Yeah.
coming there for the grub.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but the grub too is like you're hanging out, right?
Yeah.
Like that was
Yeah.
the thing when the band took a break, we were hanging out.
Yeah, yeah.
What I liked about it was, particularly the way we all ran our sessions,
Mhm.
it was about community. It
Yeah.
wasn't about us.
Yeah.
We really wanted you to play.
Yeah.
We play one or two and get out the way.
Yeah, no
now I don't know. I don't do the sessions anymore.
Yeah.
But sometimes it goes another way, and they'll bring a different energy or vibe to it. My goal is not to vibe you out.
Yeah.
My goal is to actually make you comfortable.
Yeah.
Because once you're comfortable,
Yeah.
you're gonna lay it down.
Yeah, some fun.
No
doubt, man.
That was definitely a good learning situation.
Oh yeah, we
for
were all
everybody,
growing in
right?
that, man. That was it was.
And there's of course certainly growing pains, of course,
Yeah.
lots of growing
Oh, yeah.
pains,
Oh, yeah.
but that's part of
Part
the
of it.
process, right? That's what you do. But I think once we got Junebug in, that solidified the session.
Talk about Junebug.
Yeah.
The
So
late.
William met him first.
Yeah, I met
Jimmy.
Buggy.
He was a funny guy.
Oh,
Buggy
yeah.
was funny.
Yeah.
Great cat.
Yeah.
I met Buggy on a show. Once again, that theater thing. I was doing Blues in the Night with Kenny Leon. And it was down in Atlanta at the, I'm not thinking of the name right now. It'll come to me. But I ran into Buggy,
Mhm.
and he was our drummer.
Yeah.
And it was Buggy and George Greer. And I sat down, of course, played some tunes first,
Yeah.
and he was killing. And it was the same thing, immediate.
Yeah.
We just kept playing, and me and Buggy
Yeah.
we like our bourbon.
Yeah.
So it started from there, man. And then he moved from there to here and stayed in my crib.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he crashed
Okay.
with me. And then once he was here, we were able to do our
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, so then we all started hanging out.
Mhm.
And he's crazy as hell.
Oh, yeah,
In the
Buggy.
best possible way, but crazy as hell.
Yeah.
Didn't care what anyone thought about anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
He would always be himself.
But always early. Buggy
Yes.
was always like crazy early to the gig.
Oh, yeah.
He always cared about the job.
Yeah.
Wow.
No matter what the job is, you get to HR, you think you early. Buggy outside smoking a cigarette. Like,
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the gig, man.
Yeah. Wow.
He had that discipline.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And when it was time to play, it was all business.
Yeah.
You know,
No doubt.
it's still fun, but it was
Yeah.
all business.
Wow. Beautiful. Man. I wonder what made you come to DC and what made you come back to DC? I'm assuming this happened after grad school.
Yes.
Okay.
So William was down here first, like you said.
Okay.
And then I was up at grad school, and I think I tried to apply for a couple of teaching jobs when I was graduating, and I didn't get any of them.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, well, where am I going to go next? And now I'd been in Connecticut and Massachusetts, and I knew those weren't the places for me. I had been to New York a few times, and for me, it didn't feel right, just because the environment's a little quick.
Yeah.
And it wasn't chill for me. So I was like, okay. So I came down to visit William, and I was like, okay, this seems pretty cool. We had already started doing our thing together. So let me go down there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I came back. I didn't come back right away. When we finished Howard, I went home, back to Milwaukee. That, I didn't have a job. My mother hated me.
Yeah.
Briefly.
Yeah.
It got better. But she wanted me to put on a suit and go to work every day, like my dad did.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, art's not like that. It's not like I can just,
Yeah.
I'll go right to the art factory and start making art.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. It's about, I was already making connections, and I was actually right up on a theater gig, but I had I'd submitted for a cruise ship, Royal Caribbean.
Okay.
So they called, and I was like, yeah, get me out of this. And so I did my first 6-month tour.
Yeah.
And then when I finished, I had all this, I paid off one of my student loans, and I had a pocket full of money.
Wow.
So I came back to D.C., and it's like, just because there was good stuff happening here. Yeah. There's so many good musicians here, and it's such a variety. Yeah. I know there's different cliques, and we don't always see each other. Yeah, but if you're looking for lots of diversified, really good players, they're right here.
And speaking of which, when we were talking about, how we mentioned you're on a couple of our records. So there are a lot of great players here, but when we're doing our music, like one of the things that is, like Yusuf taught us, you got to have somebody who's a little different.
Yeah.
Not because there's a lot of cats that can play the hell out of standards, right? You listen to them, you're like, wow, that cat's smoking on that standard, right? Like smoking. But when it comes time to play things that are a little different, we need some people that can play that. Play our.
Gotcha.
It's a different mindset.
Yeah.
It's a totally different mindset.
Yeah, you have to almost, because you do a lot of writing. You come at it from a writer's perspective.
Yeah. Yes.
There are players, when players write, they get there quicker. They understand the new concept quicker. Yeah. It's like, oh, this is what I'm going for.
Yeah.
And then you play that way.
Yeah. Unless you're the kind of cat, like some cats write so that they can solo, right? They'll write a tune like, oh, I can, if I do this, I can solo really well on it. But if you're a real writer, you don't think like that. Yeah. Right? The writing comes before the playing. Yeah. And that's how I think. It's like, I may not be able to play this, but this is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Gotcha. So what is your experience in the DMV been like?
Man, like William said, there's a lot of really good players here on every instrument. Yeah. Like there's no shortage of people on any instrument you need. Yeah. It's interesting. Like there's cliques for sure, and different cats have different vibes, and you gotta figure out how to navigate and get with the people you like.
No doubt.
You know what I mean? So when we call people, it's they can play, but it's also because like, look, we like to hang with you.
Yeah. And I also found that a lot of people come through DC to perform.
Yeah.
Like Blues Alley.
Oh yeah.
Kennedy Center. But so I remember when we had Howard Roy. Hargrove used to come through.
Yep.
Winton used to every round Christmas time.
He used to come to HR.
Yeah, and he would be at Blues Alley.
Yep.
And so so it's like this is a just good. It's a political town, but it's also you don't have to be. You can work, and you don't have to be the baddest cat in the world.
Oh, for sure.
Right. So there's work here, all kinds of work.
Yeah. So
there's a lot of corporate work, right?
Yeah.
A lot of parties.
Yeah.
That's a different kind of skill.
Yeah.
Because they're not interested in hearing all the chops you can play. Yeah. They want the vibe.
Yeah. They want you to be in the background.
Yes, but the vibe's still got to be right.
No doubt.
You know what I mean? Like that's the one thing you can take away from doing like different kinds of gigs, right?
Yeah.
Like I had a gig in a supermarket for a while.
Wow.
With Ron Oshima and Paul Schnur. And people loved it because they're just not used to seeing and hearing live music. And it's the vibe.
No doubt.
It's the vibe. It's like they're waiting in line. They're, and they like the people working there liked it because it changed the atmosphere.
Yeah. All right, we almost getting to the end.
All right.
We got to talk about education.
Oh, baby. Here we go.
So I'm gonna start with you.
All right.
I'm gonna start.
Talk to me.
Mark,
Talk to me.
You taught in the DC schools.
I did.
What has that experience been like?
Oh, damn.
And both of you were able to get out. I'm still in it.
Yeah, you still in. More power to you.
Yeah.
I mean, like we were just chatting earlier. When you're first starting, you feel like you can really do something, help the kids so much, make the world a better place. We're very idealistic people.
Yeah.
Like, as musicians, we're like that anyways.
Yeah.
But then reality sets in on your first day. When you try to tell kids something and they're running wild on you.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. And you got to learn how to manage kids, learn how to present information in a way that they're actually going to try to pay attention. I think, unfortunately, I feel like DCPS never gets any better.
Yeah.
I feel like it's always the same recycled stuff. Every few years, they change educational systems. It's like we had Hooked on Phonics. Oh, well, that's not working. And then the next thing, and that's not working, and that's not working, that's not. And by the time you learn one, they move to another system. I think it's self-defeating.
Yeah. When did you get to that point?
So for me, I still like teaching, and I used to have when I was teaching middle high school.
Mm-hmm.
The band was like I was able to get these kids playing some good music, and I felt they had come a really long way. It wasn't the kids; it was when the administration changed for me.
Gotcha.
I felt like the previous administration was very arts focused and thought arts were really valuable for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Then the new administration didn't feel that way, and it was testing, and they would ask the arts teacher, "What are you doing to help us pass the test?" And so instead of teaching kids music and the skills that come along with music, which are long-term educational things, it's what can you do in the immediate short term. Do a history thing that teaches the kids to read better, teaches them about math. It's like, no, but if you learn these music skills, you learn math skills, you learn reading skills, but you can't take the music out of it, which is what they wanted to do. Yeah. So at that point, I said, okay, I give up. Yeah. I can't beat you.
You tried.
I tried. And I still see some students that I had, and it's so nice to see them sometimes. They're a little older now. Yeah. And it's hard to believe they're that grown. Yeah. But man, it's great. It's like when you run into them, it's like so nice. That's great.
Do you teach privately?
No.
You don't teach privately. So you just got out teaching all
I got out. Yeah. I was like, that's it.
All right, Will.
I was really never in, to be honest. Yeah. It was Alvin Trask.
Uh-huh.
And he was teaching at St. Stephen's, St. Agnes. He's like, hey, man, this job's coming up. He knew I had my master's. Mm-hmm. So he's like, hey, you want to work? And I'm like, because at that time I was playing for ballet classes.
Gotcha.
At the Washington School of Ballet. Uh-huh. And I was like, okay, I'll try it. Why not try? So I went into the interview and I got the job. But during the course of the interview, it's like, oh, music history. Yeah, everybody hates this class. But they would keep talking. Yeah, wow. And the music is, oh, yeah, everyone hates it. And I'm like, so I was like, by the time I saw the kids, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a drag. And it was for maybe 3 weeks or so. Uh-huh. But I would always play and put things on the board. I think the actual playing of things really kind of helped. I'm not a great classical player or anything, but I can get through a few bars or something. Yeah. And trying to make connections with them and trying to get things that were out of their, of the culture of the class. It wasn't, we might do some salsa dancing, or we might do some world music, and then of course we have to do the Baroque stuff and the classical.
Now, what grade level was this?
I taught high school.
Okay.
Yeah, just 2 years. 2 years. The first.
When did you know it was?
Well, it was starting. The gigs were happening at night, right?
Gotcha. So
the first year I was stupid enough to have papers. I had like 250 kids. I had like 250 papers. And my mom's like, "You're stupid. Don't do that." So get them to do reports, like oral reports. That way everyone gets to learn from everyone else. I was like, "Mom, you're so smart." I've been doing it forever. Yeah. But it got to where I finished the gig, and then I would have to go grade papers. And I was always at that Georgetown diner grading papers from like 12 to about 2 in the morning. Wow. That's what I would do, and eat pancakes. And it was just, once the gigs got going good, I was like, I'm out. Yeah. Because I would rather keep my focus on the playing. Not that I didn't care for the kids. Yeah. They were great, but I was further away from it. I wasn't teaching exactly music. I was teaching music history. Yeah. Not all that chalking and talking. No.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm too deep in it to get out there.
Yeah.
Oh man, I initially thought I was going to be a teacher. I was going to do a couple of years. And I was, I was going to do the music.
Yeah.
You had kids, you get married, and you do all
Yeah.
that stuff, man. So, and there were times I tried to step out, and I
Sure.
said, and it got rough. I said, wow, just trying to make a living gigging
Yeah.
was
Oh yeah.
as a horn player.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I said, so I got back in.
Mhm.
But it wasn't until I turned 50, about 5 years ago, and I just kind of said, you know what, maybe let me just embrace this thing. So I actually enjoy it now. I don't enjoy. It's not that I enjoy that I'm making this big difference, but I got health insurance.
That's true.
They-
Right.
and I know what it's gonna be.
Right.
Right.
I know I ain't gonna do no magic, and
Yeah.
and so you go in, you do what you do. The key I found to teaching is having a good principal,
Yes.
like you said.
Yes.
That can make
That is absolutely the key.
that's cool.
Yeah. If you have a good principal, you can work.
Yeah,
But without one, you can't do anything.
yeah. So I got a cool principal. So
Yeah.
I've had a couple principals that.
And not
It
cool.
was-
Once you experience the
Yeah,
not cool,
yeah,
you're like,
so-
oh.
All right, I have some closing questions. Anything you guys want to add about yourself that we missed, or
I'm
About the
still in
group?
that teaching vibe thing, right? I wanted to get out before I got used to the money.
Yeah.
Oh,
I did
Gotcha.
that on purpose.
gotcha.
Because first of all, they didn't pay me that much anyway
Yeah.
when I first started, and I could match that with my nighttime musician money. But had the money had been like what it was supposed to be,
Yeah.
there was no way to match it. And when I talked to a lot of teachers, I was like, well, if I could make the same money gigging as I could, I was like, you probably could,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't come in the same way, and you're used to it coming a certain way.
Gotcha.
I got out before I got used to it.
Gotcha.
You know,
yeah.
and there was no fear of
Yeah.
anything because I got used to the
Yeah.
randomness right away.
Yeah.
If you can get cool with the randomness,
And-
then it doesn't bother you.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing? I don't know. And then then you call me a week later, I'm doing these 10
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
you get used to it that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I got used to it.
Yeah. It's hard not
Would
to.
you guys ever consider teaching on the collegiate level?
I would think I'd like to do master classes, that kind of thing.
Some tell me you like your freedom.
Yeah, I like the freedom, but also like, I at this point, I want to teach people that want to be taught. I'm not interested in trying to convince you need to know anything. If
Yeah.
you don't want to know, you don't have
Yeah.
to know.
Gotcha.
But I do think it's nice to share. It's nice to we've had a lifetime of learning things, of
Yeah.
trying to figure stuff out. And if people want to know, I love sharing with
Yeah.
people.
Do y'all love the idea of waking up and doing you?
You know, there's this dream, right? Of not that there's anything wrong with making the gigs around town, but the dream is to like, no, I want to play the world.
Yeah.
I don't want to go play the Ritz. I
Yeah.
want to go play the world.
Yeah.
And the idea of being able to just get up and like, let's go to London.
Yeah.
Let's go to China. Let's
Yeah.
go. I want to play our music,
Yeah.
like, and focus on our stuff. You know, not that it's a selfish me thing. It's just,
Yeah.
it's just like, okay, I played enough background stuff where people
Yeah.
don't really listen.
Yeah.
Not that you can't build skills and do
Right,
things that way,
Yeah.
but we were talking about this, about the stakes of it, right? You know, in the theater world, they always talk about the stakes.
Yeah.
It's high stakes when you're going into a jazz club and they're listening.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's not high stakes when you're in the corner at the
Yeah.
Ritz.
Yeah.
You know, you really want to put yourself in a situation where there are people that are knowledgeable and that are listening, because
Yeah.
it makes you play better.
Yeah.
It makes you perform differently.
Yeah, 100%. We talk about this all the time. Like, the whole thing is we're trying to share our art. And you can't, when you're playing like these corporate gigs, that's not their focus. That's not what you're there for. So we want to be in those kinds of venues where you can do that. But I think also we got to a point where we're learning, like, sometimes people don't think about how you have to connect with your audience. You have to, I wish people were into all the esoteric stuff all day and you could just write whatever you want and however difficult it is to listen to, that they'd be into it. But that's not reality. Just like teaching, you gotta try to meet people where they are. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean you go all the way their way. They got to come some your way, but you got to go some to their way some way. You got to give them things that entice them. And I think sometimes we don't always think that way, right? Yeah. We don't always think about how do we connect with people. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's kind of what we're focused on.
We were always trying to bring you into our sound. Mm-hmm. You know, that's why some of the pop tunes are there. It's like, no, but we put our thing on them. Yeah. So if you dig it this way, then this is one step closer to our sound.
Gotcha.
You know, it's a gateway. It's like the gateway drug or something. Right. A way to bring you in. You know, we're trying to find a way to something that you know, but in a way that you don't know it. Yeah. And then that brings you closer to our sound.
Beautiful. I just want to share some of your accomplishments. Mark, you've scored independent films and written the score for award-winning feature-length films like Dante, a remake of the original Inferno, as well as short films including The Hard Sell. Is that Perchance to Dream? Perchance to Dream. Bells for Her. Mm-hmm. Missing You. And you're working on episodes of sci-fi trilogy Paradox.
Yep.
Wow. I want to ask you, man, what is it like to walk in a theater and you're looking at and your music is playing on the screen?
So I've only gotten to do that a few times because you know all the work you do now is like remote, like film scoring. In other words, once in a while it's somebody from here, and I don't do that much of it anymore. But that's a whole nother can of worms. But it's nice when you like actually get to, like I've done some shorts like for short film contests, and you go in and watch yours plus like 20 others, and of course you can compare and all that stuff. But it's really nice to be like, hey, I wrote that, and it's up on the big screen. It's cool.
Man, that seemed like that. You know, that would be like something, man. Like wow, I did that in my living room.
Yeah. It's totally cool, and if you get to work on the right stuff with the right people, it's great. Wow. It's like when you're playing gigs, you don't always have the chance to work with who you want to work with in the ways that you want to work.
Wow.
So
beautiful. Knowles, during the past 25 years, you have amassed credits as a composer, arranger, musical director, and pianist for many shows at regional theaters around the country, including Dallas Theater Center, Philadelphia Theater Company, Arena Stage, Northlight in Chicago, Center Stage in Baltimore, the Indiana Repertory Theater, and the Milwaukee Repertory Theater, where you have performed in 8 different productions. Other notable productions include Tamarines to Glory, directed by Kenny Leon at the True Colors Theater Company, and the 2001 Regional Theater Tour of Dinah Was. And you collaborated with playwright, lyricist, and director Thomas W. Jones II on a number of projects. Your original works include Slam, Pearl Bailey, By Request, Cool Papa's Party, Fool in Love, Ladies Swing the Blues, Billy's Song, Blackberry Days, and Shake Loose. The Knowles Jones collaboration has yielded, a Helen Hayes Award? Wow. For musical direction for Knowles, Metro Stage 2010, and a Helen Hayes Award musical direction nomination for G's Ben.
Yes.
Wow. Metro Stage 2014, and for Slam Studio Theater 2000. Man, y'all doing it. I mean, that's wonderful accomplishments, man. I mean, and you don't see all this stuff. When y'all were in grad school, you can see that you'll be doing.
No,
all
you
this.
can't see the future.
Yeah, but
I think what happens is you try to find a good artistic situation, right? A place to write. A theater for me is a good place to write. You get a chance to hear your work back right away. You played Lady Swing with me.
Yeah.
You sat in on a couple of these shows, but it's a chance to write, and it's immediate, right? The quintet is right there, and you get to see how it matches with the action on the stage. I find theater for me it's a wonderful collaboration, because they need something to fill a certain something.
Yeah.
And it's fun finding out what that something is, and when it clicks, it's right there and it's immediate. But once it's over, it's gone. It's like it exists only in that moment, and then it goes away.
Beautiful. All right, we're winding down. What's next for the Saltman Knowles group?
Oh, that's a good question. We're trying to figure that out to some degree.
We got another record. You're on it.
Yeah, okay.
The next one.
Yep.
That'll come out sometime next year.
Okay. Beautiful.
Yeah, and then some touring things are going to be coming up.
Yeah.
You'll be with us.
Yep. Yes, you will.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful, man.
We're going to. I think we discovered our formula is keep writing, keep trying things out. I mean, that's what we're talking about. We go to AU, and that's like our guinea pig lab. Some things come out great. Some things need revision, but then you sort of, it's the process, right?
Yeah.
All right. And how can people learn more about you and what you're doing?
If you're looking for us, we're online. Just go to saltmanknowles.com. www.saltmanknowles.com.
Or we're on social media now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because they make us do that.
Okay.
My Facebook, whatever we call that, Instagram.
Yep, Instagram.
Wow.
Are we on any of the other ones? So that's it, I think.
That's it.
Yeah,
I know
we're
you're
not
on
that cool.
YouTube. Y'all
We got a little YouTube. We got to post more on.
Yeah, we didn't post that stuff.
But
they have a lot of that stuff y'all did at HR 57.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But also, now that I forgot all about it, during the pandemic, how everybody was stuck inside.
Oh, right.
We did this thing. What was the name of that thing?
Jam Kazam.
Yeah.
Remember the Jam Kazam thing it would allowed you to play with each other online in
yeah.
separate places.
Oh,
so we did
wow.
a whole bunch of those
Yeah,
little
we
Jam
used to do
Kazam.
that.
Really?
That's
Yeah.
on our Instagram. You just got to keep going.
It's
Gotcha,
on our
gotcha.
Facebook too, I think.
Oh, okay.
I think a bunch of those, because anything you sent me, I put up there.
Oh, okay.
But anyways,
wow.
that's how we started to keep developing.
That's how we kept playing through the
Yeah.
pandemic.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It was really cool. Hopefully, we won't ever have to do that again.
Right.
Wow. Well, fellas, I want to thank you guys for coming on the Conversation in Jazz.
Thank you, Tony.
Yeah, thank you.
It's always easy and fun to interview your friends, man, colleagues,
Yeah.
colleagues, man, and to reminisce and to talk about some of the good old days.
Yeah.
And man, y'all, I'm very like y'all really doing wonderful things, and I say that honestly as one who kind of, going back over 20 years, can see the evolution.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that, man. So again, man, all the best to what you're doing, and much success, and continue writing and sharing this great your great gifts and the music to the public.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And keep me in mind.
Already done.
All right. Well, there it is. You're listening to the Saltman Knowles group, Mark Saltman and William Knowles, right here on A Conversation in Jazz. And we'll see you on the next one.